thought I had a pretty basic understanding of air pollution and that it was mostly an outside problem. But here's the part that did not make sense to me. The air inside our homes can be up to 10x worse than the air outside. And over time, it affects your lungs, how you think, and you could even say that pollution quite literally makes you dumb. That is exactly when I came across Praan.
We're trying to rebuild Earth's atmosphere. How we think of India, it's our cheat code. The smaller the particle, the more dangerous it is for you.
Clean air is something only the privileged can control.
But the reality is it's polluted both inside and outside.
So in this episode, I'm trying to understand what we are breathing and what it would take to actually fix it. Let's go. Hi, good morning. It's a beautiful Friday morning and we're on our way to meet a company called Praan. And now I'm very curious about this and I really don't know what to expect because Praan is trying to solve the problem of air pollution in India. And honestly, air pollution is something that I recently started thinking about since I moved to Mumbai. So I'm really curious as to how they're trying to solve this problem that really seems very unmanageable. And we're excited to go figure it out. So let's go. Hi,
Tanvi.
How are you?
I'm very well. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us here.
Of course.
Yes.
Awesome. Let's
Okay.
go in.
How has your day been like?
Very well. How
Thank
about
you so much. All good, all good. Excited to see the space.
Yeah, come on in.
Angad, what exactly are you trying to build here?
We're trying to rebuild Earth's atmosphere. And to do that, we need to first solve the air pollution problem and then also remove greenhouse gases directly from the atmosphere. But if you remember, people used to breathe freely hundreds of years ago. We moved indoors, we created HVAC systems, but somewhere we forgot that the air that we breathe needs to actually power every cell in our body. And so Praan is building that infrastructure stack that will allow every indoor space to have air that is designed so that our physiology can thrive.
Back in 2017 when you started,
Yeah.
not many people were talking about AQI. So did you really have to educate people around the air quality or were they already facing that problem?
So I was a college student, and in college you are always very optimistic and also positively delusional. I was under the assumption that everyone knew the problem and the urgency. Every day I get surprised at how few people understand the urgency and have a will to act on it. And so the timing couldn't be better to take on a problem that is this critical to human survival at the global level. So while we live in India and we see pollution, today 99% of the human population breathes polluted air. Even in the US, in Europe, in the Middle East. So what is it that we can build that is default going to ensure that there's amazing air everywhere without actually having to constantly educate people? Because breathing is involuntary. You can't make it voluntary and have people obsess about it as they're breathing.
So many people end up assuming that, okay, the indoor air quality is good. Maybe in our homes or something, you close the window and you're fine. In a typical Indian home, is that really true?
So, you'll be surprised. In India, when it's polluted outside, we come in. But the reality is it's polluted both inside and outside. What happens is our homes are made with cement, paint. We do activities like cleaning. Cooking especially emits a lot of particulates and fumes into your home. And so when you keep everything closed, those pollutants are trapped. And particles like PM 2.5, PM 1 remain naturally suspended in the air for more than 24 hours unless they're actually removed from the air. So you may have cooked in the afternoon, but the particles are suspended all the way till the night. So yeah, indoor air quality is sometimes, 10, 12 times worse than outdoor air quality. The smaller the particle, the more dangerous it is for you. So everyone talks of PM 2.5. But there's also a whole world below it called ultrafines, which most sensors can't even pick up. So you have particles, then you have VOCs, which are volatile gases like benzene, formaldehyde, or the carbon monoxide. All of these are extremely harmful for our body because they are reactive gases. And then you also have all the microbes, which are your bacteria, mold coming from your HVAC system stored on top of your fan. All of these are the indoor carcinogens that we deal with.
We mostly end up thinking about the air pollution during winters when
Sure.
we can actually see it in the sky. The sky is grey.
Yeah.
Then we go and buy an air purifier and then we assume that the problem is solved.
Yeah.
Is that really real?
I think what happens in winters is something called inversion, right? Where the surface of your buildings is cold, the air on top is cold, so the hot air gets trapped in between, which is your polluted air. And right now in India, because of infrastructure growth, there's a lot of road dust. So it just compounds and then gets trapped in that space. So that's why the winter sees much more pollution than rest of the year. But that being said, throughout the year now, like Bombay never had a AQI issue, but right now because city is growing, buildings are going into redevelopment, the sheer volume of dust is incredibly high. And even in monsoon, the problem is that we keep our windows closed so that the water doesn't come in, and we keep it closed sometimes for many days in a row. So all the pollutants that were generated inside the house stay trapped for a prolonged period of time. So initially, air purifiers were thought of as a bandage for the winter, right? But it has to be thought of more as a fan or a light, where you use it every day, irrespective of the time of the year, just to ensure that the spaces you're in are actually safe for you and your family or your workplace. This is like basic hygiene now. It's no longer a consumer electronics product.
Also, the filterless tech that you use in this and the one you use in that, are they the same, or did you have to tailor it specifically for consumer?
They actually work on very different principles. The filterless systems pull in air from the top, collect particles at the bottom, and leave clean air from the middle. Whereas the challenge with Hive is that Hive, because it goes in indoor spaces, now to feel the difference, the air has to get purified really quickly. This means that we're moving air so quickly and capturing it with such high efficacy that you're able to feel the difference in consecutive breaths. So to remove all of these particles very quickly, we had to put a filter. But the choice of filter is also quite unique because we're the only people from what we're aware that uses H14 filtration in a consumer product. These HEPA filters have grades, right? H11, 12, 13, 14. H14 used to be used in surgical rooms. And so we said if we can take that grade of filtration, put in every room, people can actually trust the space that they're in because it's so high efficacy. When you move air quickly through it, it's removing literally everything. And you can feel your breath get deeper and lighter. So that's what we used in the Hive. So while Hive may seem like an air purifier, is extremely uniquely designed. The fan profiles are different. We use two expensive aerospace grade fans as opposed to one drum fan. And we've built a whole health platform around it. So it's got every environmental sensor. It speaks to your wearable. It gives you a weekly report of your home. You can see the pollutants floating around you in augmented reality. So it's a whole different experience for air than a traditional air purifier.
Do you think when people see the pollutants floating around, does that cause some sort of anxiety, or is that really needed to spread some awareness around that?
Because it solves it, right? It builds a lifestyle and a habit. When we see customer usage data, we have to be very focused. Do people like the product? Do they use it every day? When do they use it? What's unique is that typically when you buy, people used to buy an air purifier, they'll use it for 2-3 months and then they stop using it, and then it's moved around the house and then it's stored away and then thrown out. Hive users continue to use it every day, even 3 years into getting the product, which means it's actually part of their lifestyle. And the fact that we're holding ourselves accountable years after shipping your product is the seriousness with which we look at the whole lifestyle of clean air.
Can we also see the Hive app?
Yeah,
Can we see
I've
the
left
pollutants
my
in this
phone,
room?
but I'll get someone's phone to show it to
Yes.
you. Yeah. So if we go to the demo device now, yeah, it's 19 right now. If we turn it on, you can see the pollutants floating around. It's going to show your face, but with the particles floating around.
Just hold it here.
So this is pulling data from the Hive and then projecting that data into augmented reality. This is what 19 microgram looks like in terms of if that was your total space. It's just a little bit larger so that you can see it. The real particle is not this large. But if you go, say, for example, PM 2.5, you'll see the particles are much finer. PM 1 is even finer.
Got it.
But now this is 6 microgram of PM, that's CO2. Now, if you see, there's also color coded, right? So it's green. If it were red, the whole thing would become hazy. So it would show you the CO2 concentration.
Understood.
And people love using this, especially in winter.
When it goes down, does it get updated in real time and the particles start
Yeah, if you
disappearing?
keep it on all the time,
Mhm.
but usually like you'll leave it and then you'll go do your own
Mhm.
thing, but you can see it before and after and the particle concentration. It's
Got
real
it.
time data, so it's computing it as it pulls data. So say in few minutes if it goes down,
Mhm.
you'll see even fewer particles floating around. So like now it's 5. If I pull up the Vision app now, 5. So it went from 6 to 5. The particle concentration is much lower.
Nice.
Um, and then what I was talking to you about, like the weekly health stand, it shows you your usage, right? So now this is a demo device. Let's take my bedroom device. Every day I've used it differently. See, WHO standard air quality. All days I have a checkbox. And so how you sleep at night with the air quality, and then noise levels and CO2 levels. And if there's a problem, there'll be an insight. So it will send you a notification that every day this is happening. You should think about it, and here's how you fix
Understood. It's nice.
it.
Interesting stuff. Does pollution make you dumb?
Like there's a direct correlation to human cognition. So naturally, if you're breathing particles and you're breathing shallower, you are not providing enough oxygenated blood to your brain, your response is slower. Harvard did a study with, I think, a few thousand students and checked the impact of these pollutants on their math and English scores. So you saw that every 10 microgram increase in PM 2.5 led to a 1.2% decrease in cognitive ability. We are by default 40 times the WHO standards, right? So it's not 10%, it's 10 microgram increase, which is just increase in PM 2.5 by 10, leads to 1.2% decrease. So yeah, significant impact on cognition, on learning, on reasoning, and then of course on whole societal performance with air pollution.
So, Angad, what exactly are you trying to sell here?
Yeah, so I think one whole idea is building technology, right? But the other idea is that today we have to create a lifestyle change and a habit change. Now, there's two ways to do this. One is to sell it like an insurance product where you have to do it or you'll die. Or the other is to build an aspirational lifestyle that people would want to adopt. So, a good example is when iPod was created. 1,000 songs in your pocket became something that people lined up. So, is there a lifestyle or story angle to the whole air problem? And that's why we said we have to build a product that's aspirational, that looks and feels like $1 million, that a billionaire would keep next to their expensive piano and not move it. And only when it takes that space in your life, the product has an identity. It's my iPhone, my Mac, my car, my Hive, right? So when it takes that space in your life, it becomes something you use every day. So it's occupied that space in people's lives. So when it becomes a de facto lifestyle that people are using this, the affluent, the actors, the athletes, they choose to use this product.
So, is clean air something only the privileged can control?
No, that's not the case. I think the case is that they would act on it first, because after money comes health, right? In sequence of priority for people. So when you get rich, you now want a great house, you want clean air, and so I think the privilege are going to help set the tone. They're going to help build the culture. But I think because they are buying at premiums, it allows us to create abundance. The aware and person who cares about their air pays the premium today so that we can create this hardware and create a lot of this hardware. We are actually going to be able to bring it to a larger population. The only challenge is that to get it to the extreme masses, the purchase will not be made by the masses, but the space that the masses spend their time in. So corporate offices, public spaces, kitchens, restaurants. And so today when hospitality chains work with us and they put in all their restaurants, it's a customer who is thinking of it as a premium space, as a brand that cares and one they can trust.
Companies like Dyson, Philips are also making a lot of air purifiers, right?
Yeah.
So, what exactly did they get wrong about the Indian consumer?
So I think firstly, all of these companies are designing products for the West. right? They were never designed with longevity, wellness, real-time integration, and air infrastructure as a story in mind. So over time, of course, they've gone on to build more complex systems and more credible systems. I've bought every air purifier there was on the market because I grew up with asthma, right? So throughout childhood, I needed air purifiers. And every winter, when there was Diwali season and inversion happening outside, my parents would have to take me to Pune, which was at the time a developing city, so that at least you have access to everything, but air quality is better. I think for them, it's like they're designing for a different audience. It's not their primary product. Philips makes amazing lights. They make refrigerators, ACs, whatnot. Dyson makes amazing like vacuum cleaners. They're the best in the world. Hair products. I think the brand has done so well that even industries that are not typical to Dyson choose a Dyson because of the brand value, right? But in the air story specific, we don't sell vacuum cleaners, hair dryers, refrigerators. We do only one thing: we clean the air, right? So we have to be the best in the world at it. Otherwise, we're unlikely to survive.
How many of these hives do you make in a month?
So 2024, we were doing one a month. Now we can do as many as 600. This month we'll do 300. 300 a month we're able to sustainably do. And then whenever there's a demand spike, we are able to extend that.
Okay, so Angad gave us a demo of the Mark II and how they recreate extreme conditions to actually test it. Instead of taking this machine to every factory, they've built a testing setup here. Companies can send in samples of their own dust and recreate those exact conditions inside this chamber. To simulate that, they even modified a vacuum system. So instead of pulling dust out, it pushes it into the air. They gradually increase pollution levels to match what you would typically see inside an industrial environment, which can go well beyond 10,000s on PM levels. And once it gets there, they switch the system on to see how quickly it can bring those levels down. And almost immediately you can see the difference, both on the sensors and in the air itself. So far, this has all been about the problem, but solving something like this comes down to how fast you can actually build. And that is exactly what I wanted to understand next. Hi, Prajwal.
Hello.
How's it going? What are you working on?
I'm good. Writing some code for our upcoming products.
Okay, so we had a couple of questions for you. So
Sure.
this is a space that is known for being very slow, right? How are you able to move so fast?
Yeah, I think the pace comes with the energy that people carry in and the motivation they have to do the work. So it's just that keeps us going. So we have been prototyping stuff in 45 days to a product life cycle itself, and then reliability testing. We try to do it in a very frugal manner and as quick as possible with the utmost reliability.
So air purifiers look kind of boring and lame. It's a boring topic for people, right? What is the hardest part of making one?
So I think it comes with the challenge of how do you meet the performance, that is one, and how do you make it look aesthetic, because you have seen those big white ugly boxes everywhere. So the main difficulty is how do you make it in metal and get the finish that you like, but at the same time it also needs to meet the performance that people want. So that is the main challenge.
So climate tech in India is still evolving, and this category hasn't seen many success stories yet.
Yeah.
So was it difficult to convince investors to invest in an idea like this?
I think more than climate, it was that there was no great success story for venture in the air space, right? Carbon capture had some fundraising success stories, but it didn't have a lot of revenue and true business success story. So I think people are generally vaguely excited, but don't have strong conviction, and so they would cut small checks. Say, if, like, when we was talking, when I was raising money, raising $1 million was hard. Today, raising $1 million quite straightforward, but raising 50 million today is hard, right? 50 million is, I would say, is a conviction check, right? That we believe this needs to exist. But what's the positive side about the Indian landscape is that you don't need the equivalent quantum of capital that you need in US to achieve the same outcomes here. So you can do maybe in $15 million in India what would take $50 million to do in the US. That capital exists, right? And naturally, the quality of partners that you find who are mission oriented think about money very differently. I remember when Axel invested in Praan last quarter, Pratik said, in near term, I really don't care about your revenues. What I really deeply care about is, can people not live without your product? If you're building something people love and they cannot stop using it, you're home, right? So I think you have to just be obsessed with that. I think that's the kind of thinking you need in an investor. And I remember when he had visited us, Prashant flew down from Singapore for Axel, and he told me in Hindi that if you're going to build an air purifier company, I don't want to give you any money. But if you'll actually rebuild the atmosphere, we're all in. It's amazing to see that now that's coming up in India.
But why build this in India?
So there's a true prong answer to this. I was in the US when I started Praan, and I had 2 days notice to come back to India when COVID started. And the second thing was that at the time, India's marketing was incredibly strong. We would always look at India as the hot space to come and build out of. And so these were two levers that I think, forced the decision very quickly. Because while we can move to a country with a cleaner environment, our friends and family can't do that. And today, even other countries don't have as healthy air or water as we would imagine them to be. So even in the US, air quality is pretty terrible. India is home. India is where the problem is largest. I think it's our duty to try and solve it if we have the ability to do something meaningful. And we make it here because I think we get a cost arbitrage for global manufacturing, right? So it would have been China or India. And then the whole idea was, as a climate company, you want direct oversight on your supply chain. So if we learn how to produce it ourselves, we actually have the ability to, like you saw inside, we can improve versions in batches, consecutive batches. But if we solve it, we've suddenly created abundance of the best filtration known to mankind being put in your devices, but then also in your car, in your public transportation, in your HVAC system. I think so. It's imperative to learn how to manufacture. I think India is very uniquely positioned to allow us to do it.
So you are a Silicon Valley company operating and building out of India.
Yeah.
What is the India story for Praan Inc?
So I think, for example, if you're building weapons, you want to test them in a battlefield before you use them in the war. India is a cheat code for Praan, right? We get to impact the people that are home for us. We get an unfair advantage in supply chain and manufacturing. We get to build products that are battle tested in the most polluted environments in the world. So the fact that you're getting all of these in one place together, and you're able to create widespread impact locally, get supply chain advantage to ship it around the world, so that globally price point still is not crazy high for a Praan product. And you're able to sort of battle test these products to ensure that you have the advantage that maybe Philips or Dyson, because they make in other countries, may not have the same advantage. I think, how we think of India. It's our cheat code to trying to win in the airspace.